the one, the only, Ben Sion. Good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube, a new Masechta, Daf Gittin, Daf Beis. It's a big honor to start a new Masechta, especially a Masechta that is so well learned in yeshivas, many yeshivas all over the world. We're starting a 5 Masechta stretch over here where if you want to stick around for this stretch and you want to go back to your yeshiva days, these are the 5 Masechtas to be here for Gittin, Kedushin, Baba Kama, Baba Metzia, Baba Basra. 5 out of the 10 Masechtas in the Yeshiva Mir cycle. You can't get better than this. I would say it's going to take a year, maybe about a year, a little more than a year to complete these 5 Masechtas, but I give an Ian Shear a separate, around 8 minutes, usually between 5 to 10 minute Ian Shear on every daf in the Masechta. So you'd get a year's worth of Ian Shiurim on Gittin, Kedushin, and the 3 Babas. It's a lot of Ian Shiurim. Take it from somebody who learned Ian for like 20 years and perfected the skill for 20 years. This is not your average Ian Shear. Plus, the Ian Shear is my own chidushim. It's my own. Obviously, it's based on a lot of the things I heard over the years from different big rabbanim, but it's all my own. It's predicated on stuff that I learned. A lot of different chakiros, investigations that I learned over the years, but a lot of it's my own stuff. Plus, it's a very quick daf yomi shir. Short dapim here. It'll probably take me 20 minutes and under these dapim. So it's about half the time regular daf yomi shir. It's crystal clear. I say what I have to say. I leave out what needs to be left out. I don't go on tangents. If I go on a tangent, it's interesting, it's fun, it's an anecdote from my life, and it's relevant to your everyday life, because I'm a human being just like you. The mission says, Hamevi get Medinas Hayam. He brings a get from Medinas Hayam. He's talking about outside of Eretz Yisrael. If you bring a get from outside of Israel to Eretz Israel, we'll see there's 2 reasons the Gemara gives why you have to do this. The person bringing it has to say that I saw it, that it was signed in my presence, it was read in my presence and signed in my presence. Ramlil Merachamevi Minarekam and Hagar. Ramlil says even Rekam and Hagar are translated as Kadesh and Barit. These are cities even right on the outside of Eretz Yisrael. Maybe some cities in the Transjordan area. Relezer Omer Hafilu Mikfar Ludim Lud. Even if you go Kfar Ludim, Lud is actually a place in Eretz Yisrael over here. Kfar Ludim is apparently outside the boundaries of Eretz Yisrael. A lot of these destinations here in the Mishnah are, even though presently they're considered part of Eretz Yisrael, when the time Ezra came back to Eretz Yisrael after the first Galus, after the Churban Bayis Rishon, he didn't conquer as much as Yehoshua conquered. So some of these cities, even though present day Israel has these cities as part of it, the Mishnah is referring to the time of Ezra where these cities were not part of. Kfar Ludim was directly outside of Eretz Yisrael, so like Kadesh and Barit, and Lud was inside Eretz Yisrael. So even you travel 15 minutes, you'd have to say that Ella maybe Medinas Hayam, Molich maybe Medina Medinas Hayam. Sarach Shomer Faninachtam. The Chachamim say no, if it's so close, it's close to the boundaries, you don't have to do it unless you actually come from a different country. Medinas Hayam, I think it implies that there's a sea or there's some ocean interposing between the contiguous land of Eretz Yisrael and outside of that. Or what about if you're in America and you go from one province to another province in America? I would say it's from one county to another county in America, anywhere there's a different governor. Or there's a county executive, Bruce Blakeman, Nassau County, West Hempstead, my parents are from. According to the Rabbanan, if you go from I made a mistake. According to the Rabbanan, you go from one state to another state. Let's say you go from New York to New Jersey, one state to another state in America. Even from one county to another county, as long as there's another person in charge, another mayor, another executive in charge of that county, then you have to say Fani Nachta, because you're not in Eretz Yisrael. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Mirekem leMizrach, Mirekem keMizrach. Yehuda gives the boundaries of Eretz Yisrael. If you bring from one place, from Yerushalayim to Tel Aviv in Eretz Yisrael, you don't have to say Fani Nachta. But if you bring directly from outside Eretz Yisrael, then at least according to a lot of the Tanaim, where you do have to say it. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Mirekem leMizrach, Mirekem keMizrach. The outer boundary of Eretz Yisrael is Rekem. We just said Rekem before is Kadesh. Kadesh referred to in the Torah. And that's considered the eastern part of Eretz Yisrael, where the current West Bank is outside of Eretz Yisrael. Ashkelon, Daram, Ashkelon, Kadaram. From Ashkelon in the south, Ashkelon, even though now present day is part of Eretz Yisrael, and the time of the Mishnah it was not part of Eretz Yisrael, it's considered southern Eretz Yisrael, south of Eretz Yisrael. Ma'akol Itzaf, on the northern boundary of Eretz Yisrael is Akko. Akko is actually outside of Eretz Yisrael. Rabbi Omer, Akko carries. So Rabbi says Akko is part of Eretz Yisrael. It Gittin, and you would not say, if you brought it from Akko to Yerushalayim, let's say, you would not have to say Fani Nachta. Maybe get Eretz Yisrael, we've been alluding to all along. Everyone agrees if you bring a get from one place to Eretz Yisrael to another place to Eretz Yisrael, you don't have to say Fani Nachta. However, if people contest the get, right? So they bring a get, they give it to the woman. Apparently, the husband who was living outside of Eretz Yisrael signed the get, wrote the get, and signed the get, and delivered it to the woman who was living in Eretz Yisrael. If people come in Ma'arer, say, maybe the husband comes and says, no, this is not a real get, you have to actually go back to the Edom. There's two Edom written on the get, and you have to try to affirm that these are actually the real Edom. Either the Edom themselves come and testify, or people who recognize the handwriting of the Edom would have to come and testify. We'll talk more about this at Niyod Ben Sion. The Gemara says, my time, what's the reason that the Rabbanan instituted you have to say Fani Nachta? Rabba Amar, I'll give this first reason. Top of Beis Beis. In Eretz Yisrael, people are very familiar. A lot more scholars in Eretz Yisrael. A lot of people learning Koler in Eretz Yisrael. They understand the dynamics, the halachas of Lishma. Lishma, one of the halachas of a get, it has to be written specifically for one woman. You have to know who you're writing it for. If you write it, if there's Shimon and Rachel married, and Shimon writes it for Rachel, and then they decide not to get divorced, and the get is found, and there's another Shimon and Rachel living in the same place, he can't use it because it was written for his Rachel. Rava Amar, Lefish and Edim Metsuyin Lakaimo. Rava gives a different answer. He says because the reason you need to have this aid testify that he saw it written, he saw it signed, is because when you come from outside Israel to Eretz Yisrael, it's not a lot of Edim. In Eretz Yisrael, it's not a lot of people in Eretz Yisrael. Israel is only the size of New Jersey. To affirm, and we're worried that someone is going to contest the get, the validity of the get. What's the difference between Rabba and Rava? Daisua Beitrei. If two people brought the get and they said, Fani Nachta. So according to Rava, right, there's no problem because those two people serve as the Edom to testify on the signatures. According to Rava, it's a problem because it came from outside Israel, where they're not Pekin Lishma. Medina marriage Israel. Another nafkamina, if they went from one district in Eretz Yisrael to another district. If you don't know, Israel is composed of 6 districts. A lot of people in Israel don't even know this. You have the Jerusalem district, you have the Tel Aviv district, you have the Haifa district, you have the northern district, central district, and the southern district. 6 districts in Eretz Yisrael. If you go to one district to another district, so according to the reason in Beki and Lishma, Eretz Yisrael, Beki and Lishma. So according to Rabbah, it wouldn't be a problem. According to Rabbah, it would be a problem because we're worried that people are going to Arar. So you need to aid them. Let's say you go from New York to New Jersey, or from New York to Wyoming. So let's say you go there. So according to the reason in Beki and Lishma, you have a problem in Beki and Lishma, according to Rabbah. But according to Edim Mitzui and Lakaimo, in America, it's more populous. There's 330 million people living in America. So therefore, you'll find people to Makayim the get, to affirm that it's a real get. And more questions. He says it's a problem. People outside of Israel are not familiar with the halachos of Lishma. Why is it good enough to have one aid who says Fani Nachta? You need 2 aidim. The Hava, call Eidah Shabbat Torah. Any Eidos that you provide in the Torah has to be 2 aidim generally. So the Gemara says Eidah and Visur, and here only talking Gittin, which is Israel Heter. whether the woman's allowed to remarry or not. So the Gemara says, "Amor damrin eid echad neman b'yisurin." When we say eid echad is believed b'yisurin, kagon chaticha safik shel chaylev safik shel shuma. If the low is chazik yisura, you have one piece of meat. You're not sure if it's chaylev, which is forbidden, or a shuman, or a regular fatty meat, a good rib steak. You're not sure if it's actually kosher or not. And we have no way of knowing, right? There's no two pieces, and one of them is kosher. We just don't know which one it is. It's always chazik yisura. So there we believe Haka this chazik yisura. The ish is ish, right? We know this woman for many years has been married. Everyone knows she's been married for many years, so she has a cheskas ish is ish. You have to remove her from the cheskas, the status quo of being ish is ish. Having davar shebe'erva. It's something which is applicable to things which are related to erva, to arayos, to marriage. The Gemara learns in many places. We had in Masechah Sota also that the Gemara learns davar gzera shavar mimamon. It says the whole davar. It says by dinim mamon. If you want to prove that property belongs to you, you need two edim. Also, it says kimatza ba'ervis davar. When it comes to adultery, convicting a woman of adultery, you need two edim. Two edim is like it's not treated as isra v'heter. Rov bikine. So my answer is you also have a rov. Besides the fact that you have an aid which says finding that, you also have a rov. Most people, even though we said outside of Eretz Yisrael, most people, we said there's a problem because we're worried people are not bikiyin lishma. Most people are bikiyin lishma. So you have a ruba de leisa kama. It's not as strong a ruba de isa kama. A fair amount of the population of the 6 million Jews that live in America, about 7 million Jews live in Israel, are familiar with this. You have a ruba de leisa kama, which is as strong as two edim. I feel a remeir. Even according to remeir, the chayish l'miyuta, who worries, even if you have a ruba de leisa kama, according to remeir, he's worried l'miyuta. I mean, the Rabbanan, I say, he's a gzeira the Rabbanan according to remeir. Stam sifri v'daini migmar gmir. Even the remeir would agree that most people who write Gittin are scribed and they know the halachas of l'shma. V'Rabbanan hu da'atzruch. The Rabbanan, right? It's the Rabbanan that you need to say because technically you have a rov which is equal to shtei edem. V'hacha mishum on top of Gimel and Aleph mishum iguna ekilu v'Rabbanan. Because get, the concept of get, a woman who does not get a get, she's called an aguna. She's stranded, basically. What it means she's stranded? Basically, if she doesn't get a get from her husband, the husband is the only one who can give her a get, she can't remarry. So therefore, Rabbanan or Mekel over here to rely on basically the Eid Echad, right? Who says finding neta. And also to rely on the rov b'kiyanim. And according to Meir, the scribes are also b'kiyanim. So that's the conclusion. We're going to stop over here. And Eno Ben Sion, I want to analyze this Machlokas Rabbah and Rava a little deeper. The Gemara analyzes, I believe the Gemara, I've done Masechtas Gittin a couple times, the Gemara does spell out why Rabbah does not say like Rabbah, and Rabbah does not say like Rabbah. The Gemara in the next couple of days going to go through that. But the halacha seems to be like Rabbah. The real reason is because Ein Eidim Mitzuyin L'Kaimo. You don't have Eidim Mitzuyin L'Kaimo. And the real question is that according to the Rabbanan, the Gemara says Eidach and Mesurah. The Gemara says not enough. The Gemara says a rov b'kiyin l'shma, according to Rabbanan, and rov b'kiyin l'shma. So a rov is Ruby Leisakaman is 80% proof. Like I always say, 2 Adim is 80% proof. 2 Adim is not 100% proof, it's 80% proof. If you want to know 80% is good, 8 proof is good enough, go to most scotches and whiskeys are 80 proof. 40% alcohol, 80 is considered proof. 80% is considered proof, but that's just a little mnemonic I like to use. But it's not 100% proof, but that's good enough. The Torah allows for us to decide matters based on percentages, right? We can't know things for sure 100%. So the Rabbanan have a rov. So why is it not enough? Why is it not enough? If it's like shtei, then why is it not enough? Why the Gemara say mishum iguna ekilu barabanan? They're in Mekel over there. We're in Mekel. Ruba de leisakama is like shtei. It's a good enough proof. We'll talk about that and more. Ian Ben Sion coming up next.